Do you love AI or hate AI? Like as a filmmaker, what's the difference between a bad script and a good script?
Perspective. That's the only difference between a bad film and a good film, because many a times good films don't get made and bad films get made.
Shashank Khaitan is a Bollywood filmmaker turned sports entrepreneur. He has delivered hits like Humpty Sharma Ki Dulhania and Badrinath Ki Dulhania. He is now building Global Sports, India's fastest growing pickleball platform.
I'm that boy with dreams from a small city called Nashik, and with a lot of dreams in my eyes throughout all my life. It started with me always wanting to be an athlete.
Welcome to the Founder Thesis podcast.
Thanks, Akshay.
Who is Shashank? I want to get into that question first. You are somebody, so you are a legend.
I think very tough question to answer when just asked so straight up. But I think uh, I'm that boy with dreams from a small city called Nashik, and with a lot of dreams in my eyes throughout all my life. It started with me always wanting to be an athlete. I was a tennis player since the time I had consciousness in my life. Always played sports all my life, whether it was cricket, whether it was tennis, squash, badminton. Played multiple sports at the university level. Always focused on tennis and cricket as the two games which I really wanted to make a career with. Uh, didn't work out. Things didn't work out the way I thought they would. In some cases, the competition was very high. In some cases, I wasn't driven enough. And then I did what every Marwadi boy does, joins his family business. Uh, Worked with my dad for some time, worked with my uncles for some time. But all my
What
life,
was
I'd
the
always been
business?
at. We used to make wire mesh. We used to make wire mesh, which was used in the paper pulp industry. So the color of the wire and the texture of the paper is basically dependent on the wire it is filtered in. So it's called fine wire mesh, and that's what we did. And it was a family business, and so we used to export all across the world. Definitely a lot of business in India. And the other thing, other than sports, which always attracted me growing up, was the movies. A lot of theater. I did a lot of school plays growing up. So that was always my so-called the other love, the other passion. And then one fine day, I just got up and I said, you know what? I can't be sitting on a office desk doing business. It's not working out for me. I need to find something which uh, can make me move around, travel around. I need to keep moving. I don't like being static. And that's how I kind of rediscovered the movies from a business perspective, from a passion perspective, decided to do my film course. And yeah, that began the journey of me pursuing the movies.
How old were you when you took this life pivot?
I was actually 24. I had I had worked a lot. I used to also dance. I used to teach dance. I had a dance academy of my own. So there was a time when I was doing a lot of events and this dance academy business of mine. And it came to a point now I needed to take the big step of either joining MBA school or joining a film school. And I chose the film school. Mr. Subhash Gai was coming up with his film school in Mumbai, which was called Whistling Woods International. It was the first batch. So I decided instead of MBA, I'd in fact started studying for my CAT exams. I'd started the regular drills of classes, but I just chose to go to film school instead, pursue my 2 year diploma in film education, and then start working in the industry.
And did you did you go through that struggle? Like, I mean, the most famous thing about Bollywood is the struggle which people go through unless they are from a family which has been there.
Akshay, over the years, I've realized that this word is a very misused word. I mean, whichever industry you choose to pursue, there are going to be challenges and there are going to be a certain expectations of you wanting to work hard. Even when we move cities, like when you move from Nashik to Mumbai, there are challenges the city throws at you when it comes to adapting, getting used to it. It's the same for a big city guy coming to a small city. So even if you come from Mumbai to Nashik, there are going to be adapting issues. There are going to be things you need to get used to. So, luckily for me, I've always looked at all of these challenges as experiences of life. I've never ever called it a struggle. because I'm like, it's my own choice. I am here because I want to be here. If I'm really finding it a struggle, I should just go back home and do other things. But the very fact that I want to continue being in Mumbai, pursuing the film industry, I always looked at it as experiences. And the thing I realized is when you look at it as experiences, then you can learn something from it, you can modify things around and fight back. If you always keep looking at it as a struggle, you'll keep trying to empathize with yourself or sympathize with yourself, and that's never a good place to be in. So, no, I definitely had years of experience from from film school to the time I made my first film was a 5 year journey. Lots and of ups and downs, but I always looked at it as experiences.
What were, give me like a broad, big picture understanding of those 5 years. Like, how did you get to making your first movie? What led to it in those 5 years?
Multiple things going your way, multiple things not going your way begins with you wanting to assist, then you starting an assistant's job. When you're fresh out of film school, you really feel that you're going to change the world, and then the industry hits you, and you're like, okay, you need to learn a few other things which film school didn't teach you because the language is different, the people are different. There's a certain protocol that happens, so you start kind of picking those jobs up. So my journey began with trying to I was in a post production assistant in a company called Mirchi Movies. From there I went into advertising for 2 years. I was doing a lot of advertising work as an assistant, so a lot of campaigns which come out and which people see on TV, I'm like the assistant director behind that. Along the time I wanted to make my own movie because I was like, this industry is never going to understand me. I need to take a step ahead. So I managed to take a loan from an uncle of mine, put some money of my own, gathered my film school friends, and we ended up making a feature film. The film never released. It was called Sherwani Kahan Hai, but it gave me all the learnings of business that I wanted, all the challenges as a young filmmaker can face, understanding the different aspects of the film business. One is, of course, writing, direction, production, which is making movies, but then is the business side of it, which is the exhibition, the distribution, the marketing. And that's when I realized that to ultimately make movies, it's not just about passion. You need to know the business side of things as well. And from there, I got a job as an assistant director in a Yash Raj movie. It was called Ishak Zadeh. From then on, went to do some work for Shuddh Desi Romance. And all this while was writing multiple scripts, writing stories, which I'd learned in Wisting Woods International. And finally, in the year 2013, I graduated in 2008. I managed to pitch my script to Dharma Productions. They liked the script and began the journey of my first film, which was Humpty Sharma Ki Dulhania.
Okay, amazing. And how many films have you done since then? What's your body of work?
I'm just finishing my fifth film called Sunny Sanskari Ki Tulsi Kumari is up for release. It in fact releases on the 2nd of October worldwide. Uh, I've made another film for Netflix in the meantime. Then I've gone on to produce three more movies and run a show for Netflix. So about 10, 12 projects in the last 10 years.
Okay. Um, you spoke of Dharma, Yasraj. I want to kind of understand who are the stakeholders or the players in Bollywood. Uh, who does, like, who funds the movie? Who makes it? Where does the idea come from? What's the role of a producer? What's the role of a director? Just help me understand all the different parties who come together to make a film.
So principally a film begins with an idea. So a writer comes up with an idea. He then writes a story, screenplay around it. The next step is either to find an actor or to find a production house. So either an actor likes the script
One
and
question
then
on the writer part first. Do writers get commissioned to write a story, or do they write a story and then they find buyers for it?
so multiple aspects work on that. Uh, a production house can reach out to a writer and say that, hey, we have an idea, we want to commission this project, or say, hey, we really liked what you wrote last. Can you write something for us? Or a writer can write his own script and approach an actor or a producer to get it made. So both the models exist. Uh, from a
if you're a writer trying to sell your script, then an actor buy-in is like a short way to sell it. Like if you have an actor who says, yes, I'm interested.
So it's not neither ways are sure shot, because an actor also will want to have a good production house attached with it, and then he'll say, okay, let me see if a good producer comes on board. And similarly, even if a producer likes the script, he will want the correct actor on board. So if it's a big budget film, he will want a star in place. If it's a newcomer project, then he'll want to hunt for the best newcomer. There have been instances in movies where everything is worked out, but casting has not worked out and the film has not happened. There has also been cases where everything else has worked out and the cost of production has not fit in, and that's why the film was not made. So, in a very principled sense, the two decision makers for a movie is an actor and a producer. From the perspective of, if an actor is interested, chances are the movie will be made, and if the producer is interested, chances are the movie will be made. And then, of course, depending on the level, caliber, and star value of or content value of a director, even a director can float in a project. So if a director believes in a project, chances are, if he's a big enough name who can draw, who has a draw at the box office, then even he has the ability to put the film together and ensure that the film gets made. So these are the basic decision makers.
You wrote Humpty Sharma Ki Dulhania first, and then you tried to find a buyer. So whom did you convince first? An actor or a
No, I
studio?
went straight to the production house. So in my journey as an assistant, what had happened is I had managed to meet a few creative supervisors or producers of Dharma, and I was regularly in touch with them over the last for a span of about 2 years, pitching them different ideas, sending them different scripts and stuff like that. From my perspective, also because I come from film school and we had a very simple pitching project, process taught to us, I kind of always went to the producer's route, because I was like, hey, if the producer likes the script, I'm sure we can find the correct actor. Also, because of the stature of the producer. I mean, when it comes to Karan Johar, Dharma Productions, or Aditya Chopra, Yash Chopra, Yash Raj Films, chances are they have enough uh, opportunities, influence, or rather, they have enough reach to be able to go to multiple different actors for a project to get completed. So they're not dependent upon just approaching one or two people. Sometimes for a newer producer, those challenges always exist. So for me, that challenge happened when I was trying to make my other projects. When I realized that, I need the backing of a strong director producer. Also, the things I'm talking about are which existed in the year 2013-14, because at that time the advent of the OTT platform like Netflix, Amazon, Geo Hotstar, they weren't as prominent. The producer was the main so-called decision maker when it came to making the movies. A lot has changed since then till now in the last 11 years. So the industry has seen a dynamic shift in terms of decision making, who funds the project, all of that. So, of course, when I was making Humpty, that was the so-called hierarchy. And in
And
today's day
you
and age,
pitched
sorry,
yourself as the director only, like when you were pitching the script. That
yes,
I
yes,
okay.
I pitch myself as the writer and director of the film. Also,
And is that normal?
because of the fact it's very normal in Bollywood. In
Okay.
Bollywood, in fact, most directors are writers. There are definitely exceptions as well, but more or less, I would say about 60% of the directors are writer directors, and 40% depend on writers to write their scripts. But having said that, it doesn't mean I don't use the services of other writers to kind of help me write a better script. It would probably mean that the base idea and the base screenplay is mine, but then I will reach out to other professionals to ensure that they can add another layer to the script as well.
Hmm. How, like, what's the difference between a bad script and a good script?
Perspective. That's the only difference between a bad film and a good film, because many a times good films don't get made and bad films get made. I think it's perspective. It is which producer, which actor, which writer, which director are thinking what at some point of time. Sometimes four energies come together who are very driven to make a certain kind of a film, which when it turns out and releases, the world terms it as a bad film. But the origins of it were the same as it would have been for a good film. It would have been that four people are thinking of the same thing while trying to start a project or a film. So the only difference is that, genuinely speaking. And sometimes a lot of good scripts along the way till it's completed, they lose its charm, they lose its relevance. Sometimes they're not made very well. And even the opposite happens. Sometimes very average scripts with just the good professionals coming together, by the time it releases, it becomes a good film.
So you're saying that the difference is perspective. Perspective means the the viewers, the audience reception to the movie, like that is the difference, or what do you?
That's not the difference. The perspective is at the time that film was approved or commissioned, what was the headspace, mind space of the producers, actors, writers, directors? So
So
many
they
a
all,
times,
whether their vision is same or different, like is that what?
absolutely, they have to be
Okay,
aligned. See, a
okay.
lot of filmmaking is just about bringing a lot of professionals together. Like I always say, especially for a writer director, it's a lot of man management because you're dealing with professionals who are very skillful, but with skill and such technology also comes a little bit of ego. So a lot of a director writer's job is ego management. Even to get a film made, you sometimes have to just ensure that everyone's being able to see the film the way you are kind of explaining it. Many a times it's happened that what you were trying to explain, they kind of understood it on the word level or on the paper level. But when they saw the film, the producer was like, dude, this is not at all the film I had expected. So, I mean, that is always the kind of risk you take as a writer, director, producer when you're making a movie because there are so many different processes which go into it, and not all of it can be captured right in the beginning. There's a lot of certain things which are going to stay ambiguous when it comes to, hey, how do I visualize it? What's the scale of the film? How are the actors going to perform? Will everything come through? We do a lot of storyboarding and stuff, but none of it is necessarily foolproof in terms of its final vision.
What is the storyboarding process like? What does that mean?
So when we kind of start, especially at the direction stage, when we start breaking down the script into its different parts, the production aspect of it, what is going to be the requirement of the script. So, for example, principally, let's say there is one scene written. That scene is going to have multiple different elements for different production disciplines of the film. So the production department is going to read all its requirements. What's the location? What's the uh, actor strength of this film? What is going to be the logistical requirement of it? What is going to be the manpower required to pull it off? From a costume department, they're looking at what are the different costumes that will be important that I need to bring here. The prop department is thinking what are the different props that I require. Then you have something called the action props and the non-action props. Action props are props which the actors are holding. Other props are just around the space. Then, from an assistant director's team perspective, they will look at what's the dialogue. Sound is thinking about its recording process. Is it a noisy location? Is it in the studio? What kind of equipment will I require to capture the sound? If it's a song sequence, then the choreographer has his requirements. Now, all these people with their requirements sit with the director to first understand his vision of it and then start referencing things accordingly. Then so I will tell them, hey, I'm imagining a big mansion. So then they will provide me first a visual representation of what the big mansion is. Then the production team will try and find the actual location, or if we have to build a set. So all these processes, this is what I discussed, is for one scene. This happens scene after scene for the whole film.
And the actors are also involved in this, or this is largely production and
This is a
direction team?
production call. The actors would be involved in it from a creative perspective when they're sitting with the writer director in terms of, hey, I think we can do a little bit more in this scene. What if I add these two lines? Do you think it's written over here that I'm standing? Do you think if I lie down and do this scene, it can add something? So those are all the kind of discussions you will traditionally have with an actor and kind of understand, start building on the scene.
Okay. Um, your uh, very first movie that you made, what skills did you need? Because as a first timer, you would have discovered that okay, I need to be skilled at this and this and this and this. Like, what all skills did you need in order to make it? Did you need like a sense of uh, like say visually what things should look like, or color, or sound, or from the technical skills perspective?
I think a director needs to know everything a little bit. He does not need to be a specialist in any of it, right? So, and luckily for me, because I had made another film which never released, which I mentioned about my first film, which was Sherwani Kahan Hai, before my official first film, which was Humpty Sharma Ki Dulhania released, a lot of the mistakes that I made on those kind of prep me up to become a more solid director, or I would say focused director in terms of my requirement and my needs for the scene. Uh, when you are starting out as your first film, there are multiple things which depend on whom you have cast and whom you have produced. You might be working with a production house and with a cast where money is not an issue and you can ask for anything under the sun. And then you might be making your first film in the toughest of circumstances where money is at a premium. So then you constantly need to keep innovating in different ways to ensure that you still get the end result, but you don't have money to spend. So they are both ends of the spectrum. And from a technical perspective, you need to, more than the technicality, you need to know the language, and you need to set a language with all your HODs so that they can understand you and you can communicate freely with them. What is very important, which I feel for newcomers, that they need to understand that they need to be as clear in their communication, and also to every department, because when you get on a set, even if one department is not in sync with you, they can be haywire on the set or the location. But if everyone's kind of in collaboration with you, they've understood your vision, they've understood the short breakdown, they've understood what you want to do with that scene, most of the times you will have a great flow with the scene. So I think the most important element is communication. Definitely trying to inspire these different technicians and HODs to give it their best. And also, if you can, transfer ownership of that department to them. So if you make it seem like, hey, listen, this department is yours and you are the HOD of this film and you are responsible for it, chances are you have 10 solid minds working for you, ensuring that your vision comes to life.
Hmm. Okay, amazing. Um, what how did you select which genre you want to make a film in? Like Humpty Sharma Ki Dulhania is like rom-com?
Yes, it's a rom-com. You know, it happens by chance, to be really honest. When you get out of film school and when you're writing, you tend to write many different genres because you yourself are not aware where your first break's going to come from and who is the first producer who's going to trust you. So you end up writing multiple different things. In fact, Humpty Sharma Ki Dulhania, which was my love story, it actually started out as a con drama. It started out as a two character con drama set in small town India, where I'd written Humpty and Kavya as two characters who were supposed to be these street smart kids who are out there to con people and make a life. By the time I ended up writing the first half of the film, I realized that it's a very badly written movie, but I found two very loving characters of Humpty and Kavya. So then I was like, these characters, I've written some flavor to them. Their backgrounds are interesting. I've written some fun scenes between them. What more can I do with these characters? And then I just started doing an exercise. One of my favorite films growing up was a film called Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge, popularly known as DDLJ. I said, you know what? What if Humpty is Raj and Kavya is Simran, and instead of London, they meet in Delhi? All right. I just started that exercise in my head. And soon as I started writing it with a flavor of India, a flavor of North India, by the time I finished writing the first half, I really felt I had a special film in hand. And I had a gut feel that this film's going to get made. So you sometimes just discover your genre accidentally.
Interesting, fascinating. Uh, what are the challenging things about making a rom-com? Like, what do you need to pay special attention to?
Two very important things. One is the romance should work, and the second, the comedy should work. Because if either of them don't land, you can either get into a very boring film or a very cheesy film. So you need to be able to get the balance correct. And at that, and a lot of rom-com is honestly, from now my experience of making multiple rom-coms and films, it's got to do with your personality as well. The rom-coms in general need to have a little bit of your touch. Uh, I, growing up, I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy. I love self-deprecating humor. So when I was writing this movie, and I've traveled a lot thanks to sports all across India. So I've had the pleasure of meeting very interesting people in every sphere of my life. So when I started writing the film, I was trying to put all of these experiences together. Like saying, how can I use a little bit of this stand-up humor, put it into my male protagonist, and then have the female protagonist respond with another set, and I create this beautiful banter between them, and then rely a little bit on all the films I have seen when it comes to Yash Chopra classics or Karan Johar classics, and say, take a leaf of that book and create the romance as well. So if I can balance these two worlds together, I might have a very new, interesting, small town India based rom com. And that was my endeavor when I was making a Humpty Sharma Ki Dulhania.
So, as a director, do you go through life looking at every person you meet as a character?
Oh, absolutely. You have to be switched on all the time. When I was in film school, one of my HODs was Mr. Nasiruddin Shah. And when he was teaching us an lecture in acting, he once told us that as a creative artist, as a film personality, as someone who is in the movies, and especially as actors and directors, you never stop observing people, even in the face of the biggest personal tragedies. So I'd asked him that question in class. I said, "Sir, what does that mean?" And he said, "Even if you have lost a loved one, you need to, at the time of the rituals or the pyre ceremony and all the different functions that happen when the body is being laid to rest, you need to observe human behavior even then." And it was so ironic that when he told me that, about 3 weeks later, I lost my grandmother. I was in Mumbai. She lived in a small town called Nashik, about 100 miles away. And the minute I heard the news, of course, my first instinct was I need to get to Nashik. But Nasir Saab's voice kicked in. And subconsciously, I started observing my behavior and the behavior of people around me, and to realize how different people react to death differently, and how the atmosphere at a so-called cremation ceremony, or when the body is brought home, so many people react differently to that. And when I started observing it, it gave me such a big window into what human life is all about, what human relationships are all about. And you tend to kind of remember all of that and use it when the time of a script arrives, and say that, hey, I remember observing this. How do I use it in this scene? So, as a creative person, you need to be active all the time.
That's fascinating. Okay, so coming back to who are the players. So you said scriptwriter, director. Often these two are the same. Is where the idea starts from. So you
Idea
have an
starts
idea
from,
of a movie. Yeah. Then
correct. I have an idea of a movie. Now, depending upon, again, who I am as the writer director, if I'm an absolute rookie, new writer, not much experience, or any unreleased work, then I will have to get down to the stage of writing the entire screenplay of the film before I can start pitching it around. Right? Very seldom will some serious producer take me seriously on the basis of just a, say, 4-page synopsis or a 8-page synopsis. But as I kind of climb the ladder of saying one film old, two film old, then people start trusting me even on the level of a synopsis or a treatment note. But ideally, for a
because you have
new
a track
writer,
record.
because you have a track record, they've kind of experienced your material, they've seen the success of that material with the audiences as well. But if you're a newbie, the chances are you need to write a 100 to 120 page screenplay for a movie. Or if you're making a show, because shows are a big thing now, then you need to have the pilot episode ready and the arc of the entire season of series ready before you can start pitching it to producers or the platform. So the producers slash platforms now become the big step of, these are the guys who decide which film or which show are going to get made. And it's only once you have their approval. Now, their approval could be twofold. It could be a project which is not very expensive, not dependent on casting. So that approval can come in immediately. But you might pitch a project which they really like, but the money depends on the actor you can cast. So then becomes the second process where you start pitching it to actors. And only when the concerned actors are on board does the project get greenlit, and the production process begins.
How do you judge that who's a good actor for a certain movie?
It's a little bit of instinct. Most writers, when they're writing something, they have an actor in mind, they have someone in mind. Also, sometimes you can have anyone in mind, but when it comes to the pitching stage, you need to be pragmatic. Uh, Chances are, and again, there are no rules, but chances are, if you're a brand new director writer, you might not get the biggest star to act in your film, right? So you need to be aware of whom do you think is this the person. So like for example, when I was pitching Humpty Sharma Ki Dulhania, and the only company I ever pitched that movie was to Dharma, when they asked me whom do you have in mind, I remember Student of the Year had just released a year back. So I took the names of Varun Dhawan and Alia Bhatt because they at that time weren't big, massive movie stars. So I kind of took that punt and saying that, you know what, this is a realistic casting option. If I take any random name, uh, I might not get it. And even the producer might think that this guy is a bit loony, right? Or he's delusional. So you got to kind of balance reality and expectation. But once you've been an assistant for some time in the industry, and that's why assisting is very important. When you're assisting, you're privy to many conversations on the set, in the offices, which kind of prepares you in terms of what different people's mindsets are. So even you as a writer director are able to tap into that knowledge and then make pitches based on that. If you have someone with absolutely no experience, haven't assisted, then sometimes you tend to live in a slightly bigger dream world. It's worked out for some people because they've managed to cast big as well. But chances are 99% the route of assisting and then just understanding the industry you're working in is a better approach.
Hmm. Okay, got it. So then you pitch to actor, and this is primarily the lead actors that you need to buy in from at
The
this stage.
primarily the lead actors, they are the
Okay.
ones whom we say drive the film in terms of its collections, in terms of its recoveries. So once they are on board, and once the budgets have been locked in, then begins the entire pre-production process of, script reading, casting all the other characters in the movie, locking all the locations, getting into meetings with all the costume designers. In my case, especially because I make music heavy films as well, start meetings with music composers, lyric writers. All these processes are happening together. As a director, you're kind of meeting everyone, giving it the input. Your assisting team is kind of following up on everyone, and everyone's kind of presenting you things at different stages. So, for example, like a costume team, the costume HODs will first send you some references just to test your vision out of saying, are you imagining the character wearing these things? We'll shortlist it down to my vision. An HOD like a senior HODs in costume like Manish Malhotra or other big stylists, you will sit with them and ask them for that extra X factor from their end, and then that begins the process of locking down costumes, locations, and then you sit down and lock everything for every scene because you want to kind of see the entire scene in its totality. So you kind of sit down after you've locked the entire film, pick one element for each scene, put it together, visualize that scene together, and once everyone's happy, park it, move on to the next scene. And then that process continues till you finish the entire movie.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And the when do you go through the script with the actors in the pre-production only?
You start everywhere, yeah, like from day one. The minute the actors are on board, you start reading with them. You start kind of ideating, discussing. Also, a lot of discussion with the actors is also about knowing them, specifically when you're new, right? So, like when I was reading with, let's say, a Varun Dhawan, Alia Bhatt for my first movie, it was getting to know them as people, they getting to know me as a person, how we are going to gel, what's my process of trying to make this movie. Of course, when we made the second film, we could skip that process because we were already comfortable with each other. So a lot of that, but you're constantly discussing the script with everyone. In my case specifically, I keep narrating it to my different teams so that they can hear my vision and know exactly what the so-called twang is going to be of the movie.
Mm. The script would also get polished further, I guess, during these reading sessions.
Absolutely. So many suggestions come in. Everyone comes in with their own suggestions. Some are good, some are bad. You kind of experiment with most of it. So I would say, but and I'm taking the case of a well-written script. So a well-written script from the time it gets approved till the time it gets to shooting almost has a 20% change in it. Right? If it's not a well-written script in the first place, then it could have been changed 50% as well.
Mm, okay. And does it keep changing once you're shooting, or like?
Always, always, because you reach a location sometimes and your actors have come with you, and sometimes the location gives you something, right? Like you're by the lake, suddenly you see a crocodile in the water, and the actor feels like improvising something, and you like it as a writer director, you're like, hey, I don't mind using this. And sometimes the location uh, and the feel of the place tells you, like, you know what, though I'd written this scene as a comedy, I feel I don't want to make people laugh here. Let them have a somber moment. So you're constantly adapting, you're constantly kind of visualizing your film as you keep shooting and then seeing it in a flow. But you need to be open to this 20% of improvisations, letting instinct kick in, because ultimately movies is an instinct business, right? Which story is going to connect with whom, nobody has any guarantee. So you kind of go with an instinct. So you got to constantly nurture that instinct and trust that instinct even in these moments. They do go off as well. There have been times I've shot something, instinctively come back and said, shit, dude, wrong call. Need to reshoot this. So it happens.
Hmm, okay. Uh, so, how long is this process of recording, shooting?
Again, depends. Average film would be a decent budget film will be roughly between 45 to 65 days. Action films can go on for 120 days or more. There are films which have gone on for 200 days plus. And then there are certain films which are at a tight budget, high concept, they've been shot in like 20 to 30 days as well. But I would say a good average time would be in the region of 50 to 65 days.
So these are like 60 packed days, no
These are
breaks.
these are shooting days. No, there are many breaks. It
Okay.
depends again. I might be at an outdoor location, let's say shooting in Chandigarh, then I'll just shoot like 40 days in a row, which will have, not 40, about say 35 days in a row, which will have 30 shooting days and 5 break days. But then sometimes I'm shooting in a lot of breaks. So, like for example, when I was shooting Sunny Sanskari, which is my next film, I was also going through a health challenge. So I was literally shooting like 15 days, a break for a month and a half, then shooting 15 days, another break for a month and a half. So literally my first day of shoot and my last day of shoot, I've shot the film for only 64 days, but it's taken me over a year to shoot that.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Okay.
So it just works differently.
What do the like if you're on a break for a month, what does the rest of the team do in that break? Like they work on multiple projects typically, people
So
shuffle.
some HODs are working on multiple projects. My
Hmm.
assisting team probably is not. But then most other teams, because most other teams are freelancers, right? So some might be working on other projects part time. Some might be involved in two projects right from the beginning. I mean, there are multiple different ways to do it.
Mm, okay. Typically, like when you go to a production house, uh, they don't give you a team. They help you find freelancers who will work. That's how it works normally. Like
Yes,
most
yes.
of the
Normally,
people are
normally it's the
per
director
project.
who takes the call,
Okay.
because different directors can have different choices. So typically, a production house will not be hiring anyone and keeping full time on their payroll. It's project to project, film to film. They will be, because every film has its own requirement. So they will pretty well ask the director, like, hey, why don't you build your team? Who are the people you want to work with? And then just take it on from there.
So it's a very nomadic lifestyle in Bollywood. Basically, you live from project to project.
In pretty much most cases, yes. Until unless you are involved in like the company level workings, like you're part of the production house and you're in-house, you're on a salary, then it's a different beat. But otherwise, most other HODs and technicians are contract workers for that project. They finish it, they move on to the next one.
Is there a difference between a production house and a studio? Like, or are they just
Typically, yes. A studio would
okay?
probably be the final step of the person also putting in the money. A production house is someone who is primarily executing the whole film. They can be doing it without putting in their own money as well. So, for example, a Yashraj is a studio along with a production house as well. So they fund their own movies and they typically a Dharma Productions, they have external studios and financiers as well. So when Dharma partners with, let's say, a Fox Entertainment or Star or Geo, it's basically Geo is serving the studio and they are putting in their money, and Dharma is the production house who is executing the film. Now, there are multiple combinations to that. It can be 50-50 as well. It can be 100 and 0 as well. It can be, it's a completely commissioned script. So, multiple combinations work. But typically, that's the difference between a studio and the production house.
Who's taking the risk? Like, if the film is a flop, who is
It's
taking that
a
risk?
it's a multiple risk. Some
Okay.
of the risk is taken by the studio. Some of
Obviously,
it
they're
is
putting in
taken,
the money,
yeah.
so
Some of it is taken by the production house as well, because
okay.
typically let's say a project is approved for say $10 million. Typically, you're not getting all the $10 million in your account in one go. You're getting it at different slabs. So then there are certain slabs which are withheld, keeping in mind that you have also agreed to take some kind of the risk, some form of the risk. So there are multiple aspects like that. But then there is perpetuity, IP rights which come into existence. So there are multiple ways to balance out risk as well.
Hmm. What are the rights associated with the film?
You have the story rights, then
Hmm.
you have the film rights. Story
So,
rights
but
typically.
just go a little deeper in each also. So, if you own the story rights, what does that give you? Like, you can
So
sell it for a remake.
I can sell it for a remake. So typically, what happens is when I take a story, right, any producer or studio, whichever is the final thing, will acquire the right from the writer, right? So they will buy out the right from the writer 100% to own the right. If it's a very, very prominent big writer, that writer will hold some percent of the equity with them and not sell 100% so that when there are extra sales and stuff, they also get some benefit out of it. Then typically the production house, when it does a studio deal, it transfers 50% of that ownership to the studio and retains 50%. So then you have the music company which comes in. When a music company buys music, they retain 50% of the music rights and give the rest 50% to the production house slash studio. So different people find different combinations in terms of rights. And then there are different layers to the rights of the story as well. One can be a 100% ownership right. One can be saying that, hey, we have split the rights, but the right to remake is mine. You don't get the right to remake. Then it can be that, okay, you have the remake right, but rights of other languages. So every IP is divided into multiple segments, different languages, different territories, different remakes, prequels, sequels. So all those things are typically put into your agreement document, depend on what the agreement is. And everything has the opportunity to be monetized.
Uh, how is the story right monetized? Like, based on the box office collection, some percentage
No,
goes to
so for
studios,
example,
or
a writer could be on a deal of saying a straight buying in. So he's saying, okay, I have no uh, profit or loss to share over here. I've already sold my story. They have taken the risk upfront. If I have a writer who has struck a deal saying that, this is good, but I want 5% in profits as well. So they could probably get, even when it comes to profit and monetization, there are different cycles which we call. So for example, when you do a theatrical release, and the first sale to an OTT, that's called the first cycle of monetization. Then after that comes the second cycle of monetization, say about 5-7 years later, when you're reselling these rights. So, so then when you're doing your negotiations, you need to be aware of this because either you will do a cycle deal or you will do like a deal till perpetuity. How then there are clauses in terms of what happens to these rights in case I am no more in the world. How does it get transferred to my kin, next of kin or my production house? So there are multiple different things that come into the rights of movie making business.
typically when a OTT is buying a movie, they're buying it for a fixed period. like a 5-year period or
So it
something like that?
depends. If they're commissioning the project from scratch, so like OTTs have multiple aspects. OTTs do something called originals, which is movies or shows commissioned by them. So there they own everything, 100%. And then they have something called acquisition, which is whereby I'm making a film and they're acquiring the rights. So typically in that, they have only licensing and sub-licensing rights. They don't own the project. So they would be typically owning it for a period of either 7 years or 10 years. And nowadays, sometimes the cycles are smaller as well. Depending on the deal they have struck with the production house, it could be a 3-year deal as well.
Okay. Okay. So, how is the revenue calculated? Like they say that this movie crossed 100 crores in collections. What does that mean? Does that mean the price of tickets sold across the globe was more than 100 crores? Is that what is being tracked?
Yeah. So in principle, you have multiple revenue structure words: gross revenue, net revenue. What gross revenue basically means is just the value of tickets sold, right? So if tickets are sold for 300 crores, that's gross revenue.
So
Net revenue
every
would.
cinema hall is reporting how much sale they did. Like,
So typically, what we are reporting in Indian box office is net revenue. We don't do gross revenue. We do net revenue because we calculate from the perspective of what the uh,
cinema is paying for the.
cinema is what the producer is going to get. So
Okay.
in terms of that, so that is how we calculate net revenue. In typically what happens in the first week of business, whatever is the ticket sale, 45% goes to the theater owner, 55% comes to the producer. From the second week onwards, 50% goes to the cinema holder, 50% comes to the producer. So typically when we say 100 crore gross, and I'm not even talking about other taxes, 50% is typically gone to the cinema hall, 50% to the producer.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So that's how it works.
So typically, when they say this film made 100 crores, that means it made 100 crores for the cinema hall and the producer
It
combined.
depends if it's a net, it's reported as net collection or gross collection. If it's net collection, then we're talking about the money the producer got.
The producer made. Okay, okay, okay. So this is one revenue, the revenue you're getting from cinema halls, and this is like completely transparent, or is there like under reporting and is this a smooth system or?
Now it's very smooth because now pretty much everything is online. So even if any kind of undercutting or spillage is happening, it would be in 1% or 2%, not more than that. Otherwise, it's largely very accurate. Uh, this is one. One is, of course, theatrical revenue sources. Then, from a producer's perspective, the revenue sources, if an OTT platform buys the film, so those are big monies to be made. Then you have satellite revenue, which is the TV channels buying it.
What
But
do OTTs pay? Like, say,
again, depends project to
as a
project.
percentage
Film.
of like if a film does 100 crore theatrical release revenue, net revenue, what
You
would an
can't
OTT
equate
pay
it.
them?
Like, for example, there's a film called Chava, which is released. It did a box office for 400 crores. But the subsequent sale to OTT is not going to be in that proportion. And then similarly, you could have had a film which has done only 90 crores, but the OTT sales are of a certain level. So also how OTTs, they were pre-deals.
Pre-deals, okay.
Yeah.
So
But
they
also,
didn't know how well this film would
yeah,
do.
but they
Okay.
also, what everyone does is they put a certain kicker onto your thing when you're negotiating. So we have bought it at this price, but this is a minimum box office we expect. If you do more, they might give you more. If you do less, they might cut a little bit. But more or less, we know the averages.
But give me some numbers here, no? Like, is it like 10 crores or 50 crores or 100 crores or? And depends on the movie, of course.
A Ranbir Kapoor film with, say, a Sandeep Wanga directing it can go for 130 crores as well. I mean, there are multiple things involved. Who's the actor? Who's the director? Which language? What is the scope of delivery? What's the genre of the movie? Is it one of those big love story slash romances? Is it an action film? Is it a concept film? So too many matrix to unify it. But everyone who operates in that genre kind of knows his range.
Hmm. What's the rom-com range?
Rom-com range, depending on an actor, varies from say 25 crores from an OTT purchase upwards of 90 crores as well.
Okay.
depending
Depending on
on
the
what the
actor.
star cast, what's the music, who's the
Right.
producer, multiple things.
Okay. So box office revenue, OTT revenue, what else?
Box office revenue, OTT revenue, music companies come and buy your music. They give you an upfront amount, and later on, as they continue to sell the music and monetize on it, you also get some percentage back year on year as well for the music you own. So music is a revenue. Now
So this
YouTube has
music monetization is YouTube and Spotify, or like, because nobody
now, of course,
buys
now there is
cassettes,
no
right?
physical. So there are
Yeah, yeah.
different aspects. Ringtones still happen to be a music, the kind of songs you hear, then advertising, YouTube, the different streaming platforms, music companies also monetize on everyone doing shows across the world, what music is being used and what ad. So there are multiple ways for them to monetize as well. When it comes to film, also we have brand monetization. Certain brands want to put their products in our movies. That becomes a monetizing exercise as well. So, but your major monetizing sources are all still OTT platforms, music platforms, theatrical revenue, and the last of it would be satellite.
Satellite, like the regular
Satellite,
channels,
like
you're saying.
your channels. But the
Okay.
satellite revenues have dropped
Hmm.
drastically because it's typically the satellite guys who own the OTTs.
Ah, right, right,
So
right.
it's
Hmm.
compensated one way or the other.
Hmm. 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 The in the product placement in the movie, how much revenue does that give? Like
It
single digit
completely
crores,
depends.
or okay.
Sometimes it's in lakhs, sometimes it's a barter deal. So sometimes what they say is you put the deal, we won't give you cash up front, but we'll advertise the film for you. So it could be barter. Depending on how cool the product placement is, it could be a massive amount as well. So let's say, for example, when you do a film like, let's say, the transporter highlights the car segment. It could be a Mercedes. So it's an absolute match for them. So then the prices could be anything.
Hmm. Okay, okay,
So it
got it.
completely depends on how well you match it, what kind of commitment do you give them.
Okay, so coming back to the process, so you finished recording over a 60-day period. Then what happens next?
Then you begin with the post production process of the movie, which is basically
The
typically
music also
editing.
happens while recording, or when does the music
It's
happen?
happening through all the time. So the songs are being made before you start shooting, then you're shooting on the songs, and then the process of finalizing is happening, right? So
Okay, yeah,
then
you need to shoot
typic
on the song, so they have to
correct.
be ready in
So they have to be
advance. Okay.
pre-recorded until unless you're
Hmm.
doing like a live singing performance, but that's very rare in Bollywood. Uh, then you get down to the post-production process, which is editing, sound designing. So the most of the time initially spent editing the film, getting the film edit correct. Then the different processes kick in of sound designing, background score being made. There's a process called DI, which is color correction. Then there is VFX, which is cleaning the frames, adding whatever you want on a VFX level. From a sound perspective, you have something called Foley, which basically means if a foot is walking, the sound of the foot being put. So that the whole film goes through that. Every aspect of it is put in, and then all these different files are come together on a mixer, and then you mix it to kind of hear the film together, watch the. So visually, you have one aspect taking place. Sound wise, audio wise, you have one aspect taking place, and then you bring the two of them together and you match both the prints and see it together. And that is typically when your film print is ready for delivery for visual.
Who's the department who's doing this? This is the production department.
This is different, all different departments. So there is the post production team uh, looks at it overall, but the sound is doing sound. Background score is a different artist. Editing is a different artist. He's doing his bit. DI color correction are different artists working on their self. VFX is a completely different department. But so all these files are come under one single time code. So whenever you shoot something, every clip has a time code. So whenever you're working, all these time codes are shared with everybody. So all the details are available for them to fetch. So everyone knows which time code file they are working on, just so to ensure that the sync is the same for everyone.
Hmm. Okay, got it. I- so, what's the role of a producer in all of this? Like typically in the casting of the movie, there's a director, writer,
Producer
actor.
begins right from the beginning.
Hmm.
First is getting in sync with the vision. Because first of all, this film should be something he's aspiring to produce as well. So, right, just understanding the scale of it. Then based on that, you will kind of finalize the budget of the movie. And then you're like, oh, you know what? I think typically I need $10 million to make this movie. So then you're like, you know what? If you need $10 million to make this movie, we need to get an actor of this stature to be able to say yes to the movie so that we can start monetizing it and safeguard ourselves as much as we can. So then he will probably set up the meeting with that actor for either narrating it or him to read it. So that process begins. So a casting process would be very, very democratic and kind of mutual consent. Most of the times they'll kind of go with the director's vision, but in a couple of places where they feel that, you know what, I think you're looking at it from a wrong perspective. If you think like this, we can have a bigger cast. So those kind of conversations always keep going. So, so it begins with that. It can go as far as the producer saying that what are the locations you are thinking. Hey, I know in the film you have written Maldives, but would you think you can shoot this film in London? I'm like, but why? What are the pros and cons? He's like, hey, instead of London, we can go to Scotland, but I might get a rebate over there. The rebate helps me subsidize the movie. So the producer will come and try and offer you everything, but still try and make the film at the best available cost. Then we'll be striking all the deals with the OTTs, music companies, different departments, brands, doing that. Then the producer's role extends to getting the correct exhibition and distribution. So even which theater the film releases and in which city is a proper strategic decision. So, like a film like Sunny Sanskari Ki Tulsi Kumari, should it release in this city in the south of India? Should it release in this city in the north of India? Should it? All those are planned decisions. All the theaters are a planned decision. Number of shows are planned. So that is also typically what a producer does with the distribution team. Just kind of engages in conversation. Sometimes two films are releasing on the same week. So then all different teams are trying to get the best shows for their respective movies, right? So that becomes the role of the producer. Then to ensure that the marketing is correct, the marketing kind of gives you a window into the movie of the film. So all of this is headed by him.
Okay, so he's like the deal maker and like the chief
Absolutely.
people officer in a way, like
He's
deal
everything.
maker
He's
in
the
chief.
deal maker, chief marketing officer,
Uh,
ensuring everything is good, on track, in order. He's
hmm.
also like a crisis manager. If some things are not working out, how do we turn these things around? All of that.
So often I see actors credited as producers. So actors actually like roll up their sleeves and do all of this.
So it depends who the actors is and what the role is. Sometimes there are companies involved in all the levels. Sometimes actors are involved as producers because they don't take their fee. So, for example, let's say their market value is about $10 million. They're like, hey, I won't take $10 million. It'll load the film too much. I'll take only $2 million to start with, but I'll take this much percentage in profit. So that typically happens in two cases. One is the the actor wants to get this film made, or the actor loves the script but knows that if he comes in with his full amount, it'll be very, very tough for the producer to make it. So in those cases, they become producers.
Hmm. Okay, okay, got it. Uh, this profit share, who all are linked with profit share? The director, scriptwriter, does he also get a profit share?
Again, depending on what stature and level they are at, probably as a director, I wouldn't have got it in my first two, three films. After that, I continue to get profits as well, equity as well, uh, profit till perpetuity as well, my own production deals and opportunities, all of it.
What do you mean by equity? Equity means you have some share in the rights.
Some share in the rights. Like I would either be, depending on which project, 10%, 20%, 30% partner, and that's still
Hmm.
perpetuity.
Okay, okay,
So then till the
okay.
time
Hmm.
this money film is making money,
Hmm.
either me or my family will continue to make money on it.
Hmm. So actors sometimes take profit share. Directors also, with stature, get profit share. The rest of the team, they would typically be a paid per project kind of a thing?
They would be paid per project. Some of them are paid per day, some of them are paid per month. And typically, if a film does very well, you also kind of announce a bonus for them. So they would get some kind of bonus as well.
What's the total cost of making a film?
Ah,
Like, I know it
can go
depends on
from
whether it's
anything
action
to
or
anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
mean, the cheapest
What's
of
the
films
people
have been,
cost? Huh.
the cheapest movie has been made at 3-4 crores as well, which is less than $1 million. And then the most expensive film must have been about 500 crores. So that is, I mean, what, about $90 million, $100 million? It could be anything. So again, genre, what's the genre of the film, what's the star
Like
cast of the
rom-com.
film.
Let's stick to rom-com only. Like in rom-com, what's
Even rom-coms have been made in 20 crores as well, and they've gone upwards of 150 crores as well. So there's no range. There's always typically what an producer will try and do is he'll anticipate the recovery of the movie and then say that, you know what, if that's my recovery, I also need to put in so much so that it looks like a value for money product, right? So if I want to make a big film with this actor, I need to kind of put this much into it.
so you're done with post-production, you have mixed it together, you have the final film. What next after that?
The different departments of distribution, exhibition, marketing will see the movie. They'll start formulating strategies in terms of how to market the movie. What are the points which we got attracted by? What are the points we thought, hey, at the script level, this was different, but this is different? But they'll typically start building their strategies of how to promote the movie. The distribution department will start looking at, you know what, this film is really going to do well in, say, north of India or west of India in Gujarat and Maharashtra. So they'll say, let's focus on these areas with our maximum screens and rest. So all the strategy building begins. And then you start looking at your best release date. When do I want to come out with this movie? What's the best release date which can give me the most opportunity to kind of show the film to maximum people and monetize? So those strategies start coming into being. Then trailers start getting cut, teasers start getting cut, different units start getting cut so that we can create enough material. You have a photo shoot with the actors, so posters start getting made. So all of this start begins to, how do you start teasing the market? How do you start exciting the market so that people come and watch your film on day one?
This marketing is like a team within the production house or a team within the studio?
Multiple things. Some production houses have their in-house team. Some people rely on agencies to do it as a one-off project so that they show the film, the agency is given a cost, and the agency has to deliver. Some companies have in-house departments.
Okay. And what is the spend like? Is it correlated? Like a film which costs 40 crores to produce will spend a
Yeah, I would
percentage
say
of
the
that on marketing? Or
rough idea of marketing would be anything between 2 crores to 20 crores is spent based on the budget and the actors of the film.
hmm,
And
hmm,
sometimes it's ironic because sometimes a really big budget film does not require too much money because there is enough anticipation of that movie
uh,
anyways.
right, because
So
of
they
the
don't
star
really need
cast
to
and
really, yeah, they don't really need to push it.
hmm, hmm, hmm. Okay, okay. Are there like more new age marketing strategies which you have seen now, like more, uh, social media first, like actors doing it on their own and stuff like that?
It's ever evolving. People keep trying new things. There was a time when people never did anything. Then they started going for something called city tours. So actors were going from city to city, meeting people, talking about their movie, doing events. Then recently you had a film like Sayara, which released in India, where the actors, no one went out anywhere. They were just trailers and the director did some interviews and that's it. So I think people are still trying new things, evolving. Of course, everyone's trying to use social media more because that's where the maximum penetration and reach is, and we are all kind of hooked onto it. So I think there's been a dramatic shift from print and satellite media to digital media. And again, based on the media, there are certain ideas which keep changing.
So, what all have you done for marketing Sunny Sanskari?
I mean, some of it is very straightforward. Of course, trailers, teasers, song units, uh, collabs. One of the interesting collabs we did for a film was we did a collab with a musician called Guru Randhawa for a song. just trying to attract the market. We did a lot of collabs with very interesting singers who are very popular on social media. We kind of saw our film and said, this is one of those mass entertainers and it can have penetration in north of India. So we approached someone called Mr. Khesari Lal, who is a very big Bhojpuri singer, actor. He sung a song with us. We went to someone called Masoom Sharma in Haryana, who is very popular. So we used the musical route. We recreated an old Sonu Nigam song called Bijuria, and we kind of got some nostalgia going. With Guru Randhava, we went really Gen Z cool. So we are trying our bits to kind of be relevant. The actors are doing their bit in terms of some interviews, some appearances, but we have not gone too over the top. We've kind of relied on our material, the film itself, to kind of speak for itself and let the people gauge the merits of uh, the movie through these trailers itself.
And do you have an OTT deal for this?
Yeah, we had a pre-deal. It's going to come out on Netflix.
Okay, okay. So, I think we've covered the full cycle of a typical Bollywood movie, right? From uh, the distribution in cinema, the exhibition. What does exhibition mean here?
Exhibition means the movie theaters will show the movie. So PVR, Inox, and the different other brands that exist. So that's the exhibition. So typically a distributor will work in tandem with the exhibitor because an exhibitor also wants more and more people to come into his theater. One is for the sales of tickets, and then is for the sales of, in typically in India, the canteen, the cafeteria, are also big sales. So, so they work in tandem trying to give the best shows to these people so that they can have the maximum people attending.
So, who's a distributor here? What's his role?
So the distributor is the link between the exhibitor and the producer. So he's the guy who sees, he's the one who knows theaters inside out. Typically, a good distributor knows the pulse of the country very well. So he knows, for example, after seeing the film, hey, this is a film which is going to do very well in north of India, or this film I think can do very well in Gujarat, or that. So he has a pulse, plus he has relationship with exhibitors, whereby using his relationship he can push for that one extra show. He can push for the best prime time for you guys. So he is basically that puzzle who ensures maximum visibility of your film in theaters.
Hmm. Are exhibitors largely organized or largely unorganized? Like organized would be like, say, a PVR is obviously organized, but what percentage of the market is?
Most exhibitors are organized now. Even the small center ones are organized because everything has primarily become digital. So even in terms of your movie showcasing, there are no more prints being made. Everything is a file called a DCP file. It's basically a digital file. So because that process has become digitized, most other things world across India have become digitized. So in principle, everyone's come in the so-called data gambit or professional gambit of operations, because also from a technology standpoint of view, because the top players in technology also want standardized products. They don't want to kind of keep losing out on different centers because of lack of quality. So pretty much everyone's in the zone.
Okay. Uh, is piracy still a problem? Like, I remember growing up, piracy was such a massive problem.
It still is. It still is. In fact, so piracy has changed a lot, right? So today, what happens is uh, your audience sitting in a theater has a mobile camera on their phone. People are sometimes just shooting random things just to show I'm watching the film. So they'll be watching, revealing one very important sequence in your movie saying, hey, watching Sunny Sanskari ki Tulsi Kumari. Now, it's a fan and watching a movie, but principally causing piracy.
Hmm. But is
But
that
yeah,
a problem
piracy does.
if people are recording snippets while sitting in
Well,
cinema?
I mean, they can be giving out a very important moment and kind of putting it out. Like, like I was watching Sayara, for example. I didn't watch Sayara on a Friday. I was traveling. I watched it on a Monday. But before Monday, I pretty much knew everything that happened in that movie.
Okay.
Just thanks to everyone showing it around. And of course, then the traditional piracy is also an issue. People still are coming. But of course, with it becoming digital, now there is easier ways to flag them off and control them, but they are still a problem. Maybe not as big. Also, with everything becoming digital, movies coming into your homes very fast, I don't think so it's much of an issue anymore. But it is still there. It's definitely a nuisance value.
Okay. So when you are making something for OTT which doesn't get a theatrical release, does the process change? I mean, obviously the exhibitor distributor part of it will not be there, but other than that, what is the
So
other change?
principally, even within an OTT platform, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. The OTT, each show has its own objective, or each film that you make. One is the OTT can come to you and say, we need something for our platform which brings the family together. And now that content is very different. I could be pitching them an adult content, which is also going to give them numbers, but they are typically looking at those from the perspective that people are going to watch it separately in the laptop on their own. They're not going to be switching on, sitting with family. So again, depending on what they want, what you are kind of offering, uh, OTT has its own rules for that. It has its own kind of mindset of how do we approve this, what kind of a budget do we make it on, all of that. So if they kind of see a show thinking, hey, this show has the power to bring families into the living room, then they'll kind of typically overspend on that. And then if they feel like this seems like a very interesting idea, but I think son might be a bit embarrassed to watch this in front of his father. Maybe not nudity, maybe just abusive language or content which is disturbing. So then they'll kind of produce it in that particular order. So again, it's depending on what the end goal is.
Is there, when it comes to financing a film, um, does it have to come from the studio, or are there, like, say, when I compare with a startup, you have these VCs who will invest in a startup and take that bet. So are there like people who finance movies purely as a financial investment?
Yeah, yeah. There are many sources of financing. There are banks, there are VCs, there are individual financiers. Some come in on a percentage basis, saying, "Hey, we're just loaning you the money." Some coming on a finance basis by saying, "We're not loaning you this money, but whatever recovery starts first starts with us, with the percentage of profit added, and then whatever the leftover is, you can start taking it." So those are models. Then there are individual financiers who are like, I just want to enter the industry. I don't mind taking a risk on a project. I will typically act as a producer, but not get the brand of a producer, but just get the brand of a financier, right? So different things are available, uh, and there is no correct route to it. I mean, whatever works well for your company, whatever works correctly for you. Now, with everyone looking to kind of diversify their portfolios, there are a lot of interest from different VCs across the globe actually to kind of try and see, hey, how can we enter the Bollywood market, get our foot in the door and see how we can explore it.
uh, I do believe that people have been trying this for like decade plus, experiments in terms of looking at film investing as a financial asset, like purely for returns, but I don't think people have seen those kind of returns. Either they don't get the best films
So what
because they don't
happens
have
is,
the knowledge. Mm.
yeah, that is definitely the point. That first of all, you need to know what you're investing in. Secondly, uh, this operates not necessarily from the share market viewpoint, right? Of saying that, hey, even if I just invest in one film, I'm safe. Here, I always kind of talk about it and saying like it's like me trying to enter the construction business. When I enter the construction business, I might get in all the knowledge, but there are certain things I will learn only on the job. You know, I won't get my raw material at the same cost as a established builder. I won't get anything at the same cost. So if I make the same building as an established builder, I will still have a 15% premium or 20% premium, or sometimes even a 50% premium I've paid on it, because some people have decided to cheat me. Some people have decided saying, oh, this is a new guy, we can bully him. All those things are going to happen. Even when you get into the film financing business, and lot of people approach me and say, Shashank, ye film mein laga deta hu paise, stuff like that. I always tell them, buddy, if you want to really invest in movies, you need to build a corpus for yourself so that that corpus can help you fund at least a minimum of 5 to 7 films. And in 5 to 7 films, your risk will get averaged out, right? And then you can look at making money. If you just make one bad investment, and typically as someone who is not from Bollywood or the film industry and he makes one bad investment, he will kind of tell 10 people, bro, Bollywood's not safe. I lost my money and stuff. But you got to look at it as an industry and say, do I have the bandwidth to finance 5 films, 7 films? If I have the bandwidth, then let's enter because the chances are in that 7 films, 2 or 3 are going to hit home and it'll average out and I will come out with some money, some experiences. Also, hopefully, some deals for perpetuity. So even if I don't make immediate money, I will keep making money for the rest of my life.
Okay. So
So that,
in the West, most studios are like publicly listed entities and so
correct.
on. Do you see India also like
There are
Bollywood
many.
becoming more
There are
okay
many.
listed?
Balaji is a listed company. You had UTV, which was a listed company. Then there is Panorama Films, which made films like Drishyam, Shaitan. That's a listed company. So you've had multiple private companies and listed companies in the business. So that's always going to remain.
Do you see more Hollywoodization happening of Bollywood? Or
In what
is Bollywood a
sense?
unique beast? Like
I
in
think
terms of
Bollywood
more
is very
professional
unique.
management and things like that.
Actually, the word professional management really is overrated in multiple industries, but definitely in Bollywood. We are such an instinct driven industry and emotion industry. The minute sometimes when we talk about professionalism, the first thing what professionals, trained in professionals, start doing is start building data points. And the day it gets into data points, you have removed all creativity from the movie business. So, at the risk of sounding offensive to a business community, sometimes you don't need that much professionalism in the industry. You need basic discipline and integrity, and that I think is a uh, cornerstone for everybody. Like basic discipline and integrity needs to exist. Sometimes professionalism is equated into almost making it like the factory system of just put it in a machine and it can give me the same results again and again. And that's really bad for creative people. It's really bad for the industry. And I think a lot of the industry's challenges began with that, with the fact that people came in and said, hey, I saw this guy's film, I saw this guy's film. I learned what those methods were. I can write a script applying those things. And it's never going to work out that way, right? So a lot of the so called bad times or tough times for the industry came around over there. So I don't see the need to it becoming more professional. I think what we need to definitely learn from is if we can reduce the cost of technology and introduce more technology which can help the films, definitely. But even in that sense, you know, we've had so many Jurassic Park movies being made. There is no better film in the Jurassic Park universe than the first one which was made. The first one has touched lives of people more than anyone else. It had no animation, it had robotics and whatever jazz. It didn't have budgets, but it was still the most uh, one which you can relate to. In fact, with the over use of VFX and CG, I think they've just lost the plot. So I think everything needs to come in a sense of balance and something which serves storytelling. It cannot become the replacement for storytelling, right? Your stories need to be at the forefront, emotions need to be at the forefront, and then let's see what can help build it better.
So this franchisee, like the Jurassic Park franchisee, similarly, you in a way have the Dulhania franchisee. How does that work? Is there a benefit of doing?
Definitely, it has a benefit. I mean, you already have an audience which is loyal. You've already had an audience which has sampled the films, they've seen it. If it's a similar universe, they're already coming in with some expectation, some background sorted. So they're entering the film with already some love for the movie. So you're not kind of rebuilding loyalty for that movie slash franchise. So it definitely helps, even from the perspective of monetization, because OTT platforms will give you more money, sound will give you, music will give you more money, your revenues are guaranteed. It, if executed well, it's a win-win for everyone. If not executed well, then it kind of shuts down the franchise. But it's definitely a value if you go in with the correct intent.
Are you planning on another Dulhania movie in the franchisee?
We would love to. The thing with, say, Varun Alia, me, and Karan is like we definitely want to do one, uh, but we don't. The risk is we don't want to do it just for the monetization part. We want to only do it when we feel that we have a good story to tell and we can have fun with it. The Dulhanias have been very well loved for its simplicity of storytelling. They're rom-coms principally, with a very small message if you want to take it home or not. But in principle, they're entertainers, they're good love stories. You can come, you can have fun, enjoy the characters. So if we feel that we find a story which helps us celebrate this uniqueness a little bit more, we would love to come together. But I can't answer on everyone's behalf. But that's where I'm at it, that it needs to be a good story. And I think everyone's lives need to align. We are not the same people we were 11 years back. 11 years back, none of us had kids, and now all of us have kids. So that's been the drastic change in our lives. So we want to come together if things align, and definitely if we all have a good story to tell.
Where do story ideas come from for you personally?
Oh, it can come from anywhere. I'm a very character-driven person, so I'm always kind of searching for interesting names, something unique about a character. Sometimes conflicts that you hear about trigger something, and then you start fantasizing that and say, "Hey, if this happened in my life, what would I do? How would I react?" And that's the advantage of being a storyteller, that you can start penning it down and see, okay, does this idea warrant a screenplay? Do you think this can be developed into something more? There are many times I've had exciting ideas, started writing it, and realized after 30 pages that this is it. This story was meant to be written in only 40 pages. It can't be written into 120 pages. So you got to kind of keep being aware of that as well. And story can come from anyone, a person, a news article, a person walking on the street, uh, anything. And the more I travel the world, and specifically the more I travel within India, I realize that there are so many things you experience and see which you cannot put on the on screen, because people will never believe it's real. They'll be like, no, this is just far-fetched. This is too made up. And I mean, life is definitely more, layered than fiction can ever be.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Uh, Are you still able to experience real India, because now you're a celebrity, right? People might be recognizing you, and so do you still get to experience real India?
Well, my answer to that is that I believe I am also real India. So I often listen to this debate about saying what is real India, and I really think every component of India, people that exist are real India. They might be in minority in different numbers. A financial minority, because of their exposure, cannot be deemed as this is not real India, because they are paying the maximum taxes as well. So if you are like going to disown them and saying you are not real India, then don't tax them, right? So for me, yes, you need to find your own way of experiencing life and continuing to experience life, because ultimately, depending on what kind of a filmmaker you are, I'm the kind of filmmaker who likes to get mass participation. I'm trying to tell a film for the lowest common denominator, if I can say it without using any other term, or saying that, hey, I want my film to do equally well in north of India as much as I wanted to do it in west of India and south of India and east of India. And with that, you have to make certain compromises when it comes to the layers you put in a screenplay or a thing. But you are aware that this lack of layer gives it more reach, right? But what is that layer that you're stripping off? To know that, you need to be in sync with India from everywhere. Like, you need to travel, you need to continue traveling, you need to continue watching movies, you need to continue engaging with people and saying that, you know, what is it exciting them? So, like, recently, what happened about 2.5 years back, I started investing in a sports company, and I started playing pickleball as a sport and started building the sport of pickleball in India. Now, suddenly my life changed drastically. I started interacting with a completely different set of people, unique people, interesting people. Now, these guys knew me as a filmmaker, but now I'm interacting to them on a very human level, discussing pickleball, and I'm trying to understand what is it that excites them about life. Now that's given me a great window about saying sometimes when your life changes drastically, you start believing that the country has changed or the world around you has changed. But it gave me a great window into saying, you know what, things haven't changed as much as I think they have changed. There are still certain challenges that continue to remain. There are certain things which still excite these people, which kind of also comforts you as a filmmaker because you're like, you know what, I'm not thinking too off. Or sometimes it can shock you because you're like, you know what, I was thinking we have moved on here, but we are still there. So you're constantly kind of facing that tug of war of emotions. And the more you can spend time with people and all kinds of people, hear them out, understand their stories, understand their challenges, I think you are again back to being that student who's trying to observe life, figure out what's happening in their lives, and tell stories accordingly. And in my case, I continue to tell stories as a filmmaker, but now I'm building stories for pickleball. Like we have signed a few athletes. I need to script their stories for glory. I need to present them in a way. Now, to present them, I need to know their lives deeper. What are their challenges? How did they come till here? What is this boy who lives in Jalgaon or this girl in Jalgaon doing with a pickleball paddle in her hand? Now, that gives me an insight into India or her life. And similarly, what is this boy with a slight physical disadvantage? How is he managing to playing top level pickleball in India? So the more you are in sync with these people, or you keep talking to them and their lives come to you, you need to continue asking the questions as you did when you were a student of cinema or just a fan of cinema sitting and saying that ऐसा क्यों हुआ होगा इनकी लाइफ में, what happened here. So as far as you're doing that, I think you will never lose perspective of real India. So let's say I go to a palace property in Rajasthan. Now, that's not necessarily a place which you define. But if you can have a great conversation with the security guard there or the guys who are serving you food there, talk to them, understand their life, where are they from, what do they do, why are they here, what are the stories of the palace, is something fishy happened here, are there ghosts here? You can still kind of derive a lot of understanding of where these people come from and what their lives are about.
Okay, awesome. What exactly is the pickleball venture? Help me understand that. What are you building?
Pickleball as a sport, of course, has become a bit of a buzzword world over.
Hmm.
So, about 3 years back is the first time I played pickleball, and I had a bit of a history of junior international tennis. So, I naturally kind of picked up pickleball, really had fun playing it, and then I was like, "This is going to be a big business in India.
Why
Let
do
me
you
be
feel that
the."
way?
It's a game. We are good TT players. We are good baddie players. We are good cricket players. We are good tennis players. So the racket sport universe has already been set for us. Pickleball is very simple. Pickleball is played on a badminton-sized court, low net, played with a plastic ball and a paddle. Easy to get into. Of course, it gets very complicated when you're playing at the highest pro level. Great community game. You can A husband wife can play together, siblings can play together, 40-year-olds can play together, 50-year-olds can play, a 30-year-old and a 50-year-old can play together. So it's a great community builder. And for a country like ours, no, which has a history of chatting on the below the buildings, going to Nana Nani parks across the world, sitting, talking, the community culture already exists. So it's about just giving it a new avenue. And that's what we are seeing. Like the growth of pickleball in India over the last 2 years has just been exponential. So that's how I kind of connected to with a company called Global Sports, invested with them, became a partner in the company, and now we continue to build different IPs in pickleball, infrastructure projects in pickleball, and with a very very concrete dream of one day seeing pickleball at the Olympics and hoping to see India win a lot of medals in that because this is a sport I believe India can be very well can be victorious in.
What exactly is Global Sports doing? Like, how is it making money? What's the business model?
We're not making money. We're only losing money as of now, which
But
in
what's
the
the plan?
startup language is like we are creating value. But yeah, our idea is threefold. We want to create IPs. We want to create intellectual property like leagues, tournaments across. We want to then work with like an IPL. We've already started our leagues. The Global Sports Pro and Challenger leagues and tournaments are already very popular world over. Then we want to continue working with the government, with the official pickleball bodies in India to kind of structure World Cups, Asia Cups, different events, and really give it proper structure. Try and get corporates in the game, try and really get funding in the game so athletes can make careers, and then really focus on athletes to create world class athletes in pickleball. This is a sport where men, women have great importance equally. It's one of those gender neutral sports which are very exciting. So we really want to kind of push that aspect and see
I still don't understand the business model. What's the source of revenue here? Is it sponsorship?
registrations, sponsorships, broadcasting deals, league franchise deals. So your revenues are the traditional revenue formats for sports. Certain innovations are when it comes to social media, how you can use Instagram and other things to raise more revenue. The other on ground revenue ideas is how big an event can you create because that allows for different stalls to come in and different people to come in and make it experiences. But principally for sport, always your bigger revenue models will be registration, sponsorships, league franchise owners, all of them. And of course, revenue from facilities as of now is a very big model. Till the time more
You
and more
own the
revenues come in.
facilities or like
We lease it out and we operate it. We don't
okay,
own it. We
okay.
lease it from the owners
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
and
hmm,
we
hmm.
operate it. So across
It's like
India,
a
we
Oyo rooms kind of a model. So you'll
Oyo
take
rooms kind
an
of model.
asset, you'll brand it, you will run it.
We'll brand it, we'll run it,
Hmm,
and we have a minimum lease period till then.
hmm.
Yeah.
So how how big could this be? What do you see as like
The
and
sport,
a revenue number would be a good way to help me understand because I'm from the world of business. But
correct.
how big do you see this could be?
Oh, I mean, I'm trying to struggle to kind of give you a number which doesn't sound too optimistic, but just to kind of give you numbers, already in the US they are predicting it to be a $20 billion industry. I think in India this is going to definitely be a 20 to $30 billion industry. I think from our goals perspective, we are hoping and looking at hitting the 1,000 crore mark, hopefully by the end of next year or 2027 as a company. And so I think there's a lot of potential. We are in fact, I would say just touched about 2% of pickleball right now in India. Once the government sanctionings come in its full flow, schools get active, more kids start playing. I mean, there is absolutely no stopping the sport.
Hmm, hmm. And what skills did you learn as a Bollywood director which are helping you build this business?
One is the understanding of content, understanding of experience. Uh, when I'm creating a movie, I'm trying to create an experience for my audiences. Similarly, when we are curating our tournaments and leagues, we are looking to create experiences for the players and audiences who are coming in. And that's why global sports events are very unique because not only are the players enjoying themselves, but the people who are coming to watch are also having a great time. So, principally, we'll select a venue which is fun, we'll build the best court. From our company perspective, all our partners believe in the top infrastructure. We are very, very clear that nothing should be average. So, we're creating venues like that. We're putting in stalls from food to gaming to beverages so that it really feeds the community. They can really kind of say that, hey, even if I'm not playing, I want to just hang at the venue from day to night and watch all the pickleball action, but meet my friends as well. So, from a content perspective, that has really helped me. Simple things like how do we present it aesthetically better when we are broadcasting? Where should the camera placements be? What are the color of the courts which are most attractive for viewership? All of those small, small bits add on to the whole and ensure that we are creating something of great value.
Okay, fascinating. Essentially, you see this like, say, you have these federations, or
Correct.
like, say, the F1 is
Right.
a body which is a
Control. Yeah.
revenue making body. So something like that, you see global sports becoming for
No,
pickleball.
Global Sport doesn't want to be an association. We want to remain a private company. The association in India has already come up. We want to work in tandem with them, and we want to continue building ourselves as a private company. We don't necessarily want to be an association.
Typically, when sports get popular, then the associations take over, right? Like, uh, uh, so do you see that risk here?
There's always risk attached in anything you do. I think the way we have been trying to build it is we want to have great relationships with the thing, with the association. But no association is ever going to be able to grow without the help of corporates, without the help of certain professional management. World over, there are very few associations or uh, so-called bodies which have built great sports events, right? Most other sports get kind of its recognition only during the Olympics, and then they kind of go away into hibernation for 4 years. We never hear of them. Only a few sports exist world over, and most of those sports which exist have had great support from franchise owners or corporates, right? So if you talk about football across the world, it's the franchise football which is very, very popular. The World Cup gets popular and the Euros get popular. Similarly, in cricket now, it's the franchise owners which are keeping the top bracket of cricket alive, right? Of course, cricket is a far more mature sport in India. So similarly, we come from a thought process of collaboration. I think with them having government affiliations and government backing, and with us being able to provide a lot of professional knowledge, corporate knowledge, me coming from a field of movies, giving them so much understanding about, say, social media, entertainment. I think this combination, if it comes to together, can be an absolute killer combination. It can really uh, ignite a lot of confidence in different stakeholders, people looking to invest and knowing that, hey, this conglomerate kind of fulfills all the needs that we had or all the verticals that we were thinking about. So that is where we are coming from, and hopefully we'll be successful in that.
Okay. Let me end with this question. Uh, why are you successful? Is it luck, or are there special skills which you developed?
So I'm a believer of karma. So as part of the belief of karma, one of the things is that I need to keep working on myself. So if I have reached here because of the certain opportunities provided to me, the certain things which went in my favor, I was born in good circumstances, I had the opportunity to educate myself a certain way. It's now my responsibility to keep working on that and ensure that I keep improving on it. So one of the aspects of believing in karma is to know that it is not guaranteed 100% and you need to work on it. So having said that, yes, so I keep working on myself. I'm someone who cannot sit idle. I keep trying to learn new things, whether it is in the movie business or now in the pickleball business, trying to understand, trying to reach out to people to understand what the market is about from a business point of view, understand why OTT platforms are doing what they're doing, why production houses are doing. So I think the more knowledge you want to gather, it makes you far more adaptable. Also, it makes you a bit clever when it comes to decision making. So I can be in a room, and when it comes to a crunch decision, kind of try and take a decision which helps all of us. All right, kind of says that it gives us an advantage to both of us. Right.
Hmm. So you're saying your secret power is decision making, like taking good decisions.
I think my secret power is uh, I'm I know myself very well and I have no false illusions about myself. And I'm not delusional about myself. I'm self-aware. I do not go into a room thinking कि मैं बहुत बड़ा Bollywood celebrity हूँ और I should be treated a certain way. I go in looking to create value in my life and in the lives of people. So that's how I think. And I think that has been one of the reasons. Uh, and also, I am not very success driven. I'm very process driven. I don't get too carried away by success or too bogged down by failure. I'm very process driven, probably because of my training of sports all my life, because I've played sports since the age of 3. uh, for me, my everyday process is very, very important. And sometimes, if I complete that process well, that in itself gives me a lot of joy. Like, if I'm like, so for example, just to put it like, if I had a few things I wanted to say in this interview, and if I've said them out correctly, and I feel I've expressed them well, I feel very happy about the day. And if I feel, hey, I wish I could have spoken a few. Yeah.
Mm.
So as I was saying, so as far as and if there was something I had to say and I couldn't say it, then I just feel like, hey, I wish I could say that better. So I'm kind of only looking at myself. I'm not kind of looking at others to for validation. And I think that really helps my decision making as well.
I want to sneak in one last question.
Sure.
Do you love AI or hate AI? Like as a filmmaker?
No, I think it needs to be used effectively. I think as people, just generally, it doesn't matter which profession you are in, you cannot be against technology. You need to use it correctively. I am against AI, which might uh, threaten to lose jobs.
Hmm.
But I think if they can be helped use, there's always going to be a shift in AI, right? There is going to be a time where I used to do X job, but I need to have a certain different skill set to learn Y job. But I think that transition needs to be given time so that the people who didn't have the skill sets, they can learn it. If the transition is done immediately, we will not have, we'll have a vacuum of trained people on this end, and we'll have a lot of unsatisfied people losing jobs at one end. So I think we need to just adapt it in due course so that a set of people can be said that, listen, guys, you need to change, you need to adapt, you need to learn, otherwise, you will be unemployed. So, as far as they can kind of adapt and do that, I think we will have time to make the transition.
Like ad films are already being made using AI. Complete ad film is being made using AI. Do you see in Bollywood movies some AI scenes slipping in, which audience doesn't even realize that this was an AI scene?
I mean, people will use AI from time to time as the technology offers for cheaper solutions. So I'm sure it's going to happen. Like Hollywood did it. Hollywood had a major issue, I think, about 2 years back or a year and a half back, and they had multiple so-called strikes, and they finally came to a solution about how much of it can be used and cannot. I think we'll also arrive at something like that from our perspective. Of course, you cannot live in an age where you resist technology. I mean, you and me are chatting right now because someone made this technology,
Mm.
right? So I think it's foolish to kind of constantly say that we have too much of technology. In fact, if at all the solution to world problems are going to be the correct use of technology, it cannot be the lack of it.
Thank you so much for your time, Shashank. It was a real pleasure.
Not at all. Thank you, Akshay. Thank you so much.